My father was a lighthouse keeper. My mother was a queen. But life has a way of bringing people together.
We could unite our worlds one day.
I've been looking for you. Your half-brother, King Orm, is about to declare war upon the surface world. The only way to stop this war is for you to take your rightful place as king.
Trust me, I am no king.
You do your best thinking when you're not thinking.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to episode 31 of the DNA Film Wars podcast. Today we are talking about the film Aquaman, directed by James Wan, written by David Leslie Johnson-McGoldrick, Will Beall,
Geoff Johns.
And what?
Geoff Johns.
Geoff Johns, and also James Wan. And starring Jason Momoa,
Oh, man.
Amber Heard, Willem Dafoe, Patrick Wilson, Nicole Kidman, and Dolph Lundgren, among other people. So, Dylan, what are your initial thoughts?
I was pleasantly surprised by this movie. It's actually pretty fun. It's a highly enjoyable 2 hours and 23 minutes. I liked pretty much everything about it. I won't say it's the best made movie ever. It's not. I wouldn't say this movie's even good necessarily. It's just really fun and entertaining, and I liked it. And I was surprised.
Yeah, I'll say the same thing. I was surprised how much I liked it. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
But it's entertaining. I mean, it does run a little long, but it is a fast-paced movie, and it keeps me entertained. So why don't you go ahead and delve into your story?
All right. This story is pretty. I mean, like we've already said, it's ridiculous and over the top. We start off at the beginning of this film. It's got a voiceover, which is not Aaron's favorite thing, but it's done by Jason Momoa. So I can't hate on it. And he's kind of explaining, the story of his parents meeting. And his father's a lighthouse keeper. Obviously, his mother's from Atlantis. Her name is Atlanta or something like that, right? Atlanta. And she washes up on shore.
Atlanta, not Atlanta.
Atlanta. Anyway, she washes up on shore of this lighthouse during this major storm, and Jason Momoa's father...
Who is Jango Fett.
He is.
His real name is Tamura Morrison.
Okay.
He, haven't seen him since Attack of the Clones. Or Return to the Sith, but...
Anyway, he saves her from the shore and takes her in, and she kind of wakes up and tries to kill him, and then she passes out again, and she wakes up, and then they fall in love, and then they have little baby Jason Momoa, and then we have our story.
Arthur Curry,
little baby Jason Momoa. And then we flash forward, and he's grown up, and we have our first look at one of our villains in the movie, which is Black Manta. He's not really Black Manta yet, but this group of pirates lands on this military sub and try to take over
a Russian
military sub, and they try to take over the sub. And of course, Aquaman shows up to save the day, and this is where we start to get some character motivation for Black Manta, and the fact that his father gets pinned under this torpedo, and Aquaman just kind of leaves and doesn't help save him, and he ends up dying, and so that's why Black Manta is, out for revenge against Aquaman. But I mean, this movie is ridiculously over the top. After that point, we're back on land. We have a really heartfelt moment between Aquaman and his father in a bar that instantly becomes ridiculous when he starts taking selfies after getting drunk at this bar. He starts taking selfies with this biker gang. And then we meet Amber Heard's character of Mira, and she's, trying to persuade him to come help, win Atlantis back, or, try to take the throne from his little brother, who is a full-breed Atlantean, played by Patrick Wilson, whose name is King Orm, right? So King Orm?
Orm.
Yeah, what a name. Ocean Master. And his big baddie plan is, he wants to conquer the 4 kingdoms of Atlantis, and then use that army to destroy the world. Other than that, I mean, that's a pretty generic basis of the plot of his plot. But I mean, this movie gets ridiculously over the top. I mean, we have a lot of ridiculous CGI and a lot of ridiculous stuff happens. But I mean, I can't hate on this movie too much. It's a really fun time. I think one of the only like stretches of this movie that really drags down is the time when they're in the desert. It kind of drags a little bit. I mean, obviously it's needed. I guess it's kind of needed for the plot because it gives them their clue to try to find the first king of Atlantis' trident that only the true heir can possess or wield or whatever. But I mean, I think that we could have probably found a different way to go about doing that didn't involve, going and spending 20 minutes in the desert for no reason. But it's whatever. I mean, I pretty much enjoy this movie. It's a fun time. I can't hate on it. It's over the top. It's cheesy. It's funny. And I liked it. I mean, I'll give it 3.5 stars. Why not?
All right. Yeah. So the story, I'll say the same thing. It is over the top. It's ridiculous. Like you said, I think the search for the trident is kind of contrived. They have this old message that can only be listened to if you plug it into old technology, that they have to go to this kingdom in the desert, and they find it and everything. But and that part kind of drags a little bit. But other than that, if I had $1 for every time an explosion interrupted a conversation,
thank you, James Wan,
or there was the scene went really quiet and then there was a loud noise, or every time the music went bum bum bum, I'd be a rich man by the end of this movie. I mean, it's just over. I mean, but the good thing is that the movie knows.
It knows it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. And I think they strike a near perfect tone. If they had tried to take themselves seriously and had the same basic plot here, I'd have had real problems with this movie. But I think the cast here pulls off this fun-loving tone they have. I don't think one of the problems, I don't really think we needed 2 villains. I think Black Manta is mainly here just for a setup for a sequel. We didn't really need him that much.
I think I realized looking back, he kind of has like this part, plays a part in the Sicily, Italy scene where he kind of makes Aquaman realize something about himself.
Well, yeah, I mean, he is part of Aquaman's arc. Like, he refuses to save him at the beginning, and then Aquaman comes to regret that and realizes that I guess it's best not to kill your enemies because he doesn't kill his brother at the end and everything. But still, I mean, I don't think there's really that necessary. You didn't need the Black Manta character to make
and it's kind of in cohorts with his brother Orm.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think I was confused. I don't think they did a great job of world building here. So is there 4 kingdoms of Atlantis, or is Atlantis one of 4 kingdoms?
I think it's like the Atlantean Empire, kind of like Rome would have had like maybe different nations or something like that.
Because I got confused in that part because Amber Heard keeps referring to Atlantis as her home, but she's not from the same kingdom as Aquaman. She's from whatever kingdom her dad, who is Dolph Lundgren, is from. That kind of going. I mean, you don't ask why in this movie. You could ask like, why can only high bloods breathe air? I mean, why does Amber Heard keep calling the Atlantis her home when she's actually from a different kingdom? I mean, why is
Yeah, because one of the kingdoms that was the original 7. I mean, because it describes that there are 7 different kingdoms, 4 of which are remaining. One of them's in the middle of the Sahara Desert.
One of the old ones, yeah.
Yeah. Another one's in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, I believe, or something.
They keep saying somewhere in the Atlantic, somewhere in the Indian, somewhere in the Pacific. I got confused.
Like, okay, where are we?
I don't know. Like, why is Aquaman stronger than all the other Atlanteans, even though he's half human? Why? You just
can't ask why with this movie.
Why do the Atlanteans all speak fluent English? That was my big thing. They just pop out of the water speaking English, but whatever.
Well, the Atlanteans were above the ocean floor at one point in time. Okay, they weren't under the ocean for always and eternity.
But why were they speaking English?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that's what I was saying. I mean, it's just kind of ridiculous, but
this movie is ridiculous.
Go with it. I'll give the story 3 stars.
All right.
But it was fun, entertaining. It's not like a.
It's a really fun, entertaining.
It's not 3 stars. It's 3 stars.
I mean, it's a fun time.
It's a fun time.
You can't say it's not. So
moving on to acting.
Jason Momoa. I like Jason Momoa in this movie. Actually, I think he does a lot better job than he did in, say, like Justice League,
Well, I think he's playing the same character. I just think
he is, but
he
does such a better job with this in this movie because this is a more lighthearted and over the top film, and he hams it up as Aquaman, and I love everything about him as his character. He does such a great job with this story, and he does such a great job with this script, and just living it up and having as much fun as possible. I think Amber Heard does pretty good. She's not bad. She's pretty to look at. There's no complaints there. Willem Dafoe he's Willem Dafoe. Patrick Wilson, I can't take seriously in this movie at all. From the first time I saw him on screen, I'm like, wow, all right. But he's okay, I guess. Other than that, I mean, Dolph Lundgren is Dolph Lundgren.
He's Dolph Lundgren.
Everyone does it pretty. He speaks really good English in this movie.
Well, he's not native Russian.
He's not from America.
But he's not from Russia.
That's okay. I've never heard him speak like perfect English.
Yeah, he doesn't have really much of an accent in this movie.
I don't know, but I mean, acting, I really enjoyed everyone in this movie. I think everyone does a really good job, especially with the tone of this movie. They really play into it, and they cheese it up. Nicole Kidman's even not bad.
Are you saying she's bad in everything else?
No, she's just Nicole Kidman.
So
I mean, I'll give the acting, I'll give it 3.5 stars.
All right, yeah, I'll say about the same thing. Jason Momoa, he works for this movie. Some of his line deliveries are kind of bad, but overall,
I think his worst line that he actually gives is probably, "What could be greater than a king?"
Yeah, because he's trying to be serious and it doesn't really work.
And you're like,
Amber Heard, she's all right, no problems there. Patrick Wilson's he's over the top, but he's just kind of, he does a good job with what he's given. Willem Dafoe, he's all right. Jason Momoa's dad, or Tim Curry, the dad, he's all right.
Tim Curry.
Yeah, that's his name, Tim Curry.
Tim Curry.
Nicole Kidman is good with what she's given, I guess. I mean, they're all hamming it up. There's not a lot of great acting going on here. A lot of over the top. I'd like to go back for the story for just a second. I forgot to mention my problem with all DCEU films. They keep fretting about him taking this world to the surface world, destroying the surface world. All Aquaman would have to do is call Superman, and Superman could have had this problem taken care of in about 5 seconds. But, that's a problem with all superhero movies, so I'll just ignore that. Back to acting, like I said, everyone's hamming it up. Jason Momoa does pretty good. There are some rough line deliveries on most people's parts. I'll give acting 3 stars.
All right. Getting into the hodgepodge of this section, I mean, clearly this movie is CGI all the way, most of the majority of the movie. The CGI, I think it's really, depending on what scene you're looking at, I think it's okay. I mean, it's pretty good when we're, looking at certain shots of Atlantis. I mean, I think, when we enter the kingdom of Atlantis and, you see this underwater world, it's really pretty and the colors are super vibrant. It's really, really neat to look at, and it really immerses you. But at times it looks really cartoonish, and I don't know if that's what they were going for. The CGI of people's hair moving underwater is kind of questionable at times. Looks a little odd. But I mean, judging this movie based on the CGI, it's okay. It's not terrible. It's not great. It's DCEU CGI. I will like I've already said, colors in this movie are really vibrant. Everything really pops on screen. This movie's really pretty to look at. It's really immersive, and I like that about the film. I think that James Wan did a great job directing this film. You can definitely see his horror roots in this movie, like Aaron said, in some of the in his story section. It's definitely every time there's a soft or quiet moment, it's either interrupted by an explosion, interrupted by a really loud booming noise, or over the top, really bass music of boom, boom, boom. But I mean, overall, I think the score is really good for this movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I might have to listen to it on the way to work today, because I enjoyed it. Especially the music in the trailer for this movie was excellent. I really enjoyed it. I enjoy this movie. It's a fun time. I'll give the hodgepodge, I'll give it 3.5 stars as well.
All right, yeah, hodgepodge. Like you were talking about, I think this movie is beautiful for the most part. The scenes where we're underwater and everything is CGI, kind of like Avatar style, looks great. When they start bringing the CGI to the surface, Yeah, a little bit like you said, the underwater when their hair is waving, that looks a little questionable. The de-aging CGI, I think, on Aquaman's dad looks okay. I think the de-aging makeup and the flashback scenes with Willem Dafoe is a little rough. But overall, I think the CGI and the special effects are done really well. Costuming, Black Mantis looks ridiculous, but
It looks just like the comics, apparently, though.
But yeah, I guess, whatever.
My only problem is when Aquaman comes out from under that waterfall. He looks so ridiculous.
Yeah, he looks so ridiculous in that
classic
Aquaman
suit.
But, whatever. Nicole Kidman, she looks good at the beginning, but when she's on the island, her hair's, turned, gray or whatever. It looks kind of goofy. But, it's a goofy movie, whatever. I think the soundtrack, like you said, it's definitely epic. They achieved that epic quality there. I can't say that there's any specific memorable track that I really liked, but it's good. So, what? And there was a song. What was that song at the end of the credits or whatever? I can't remember what it was. But overall, I think the Hodgepodge section, just based on the fact that I really liked the look of the underwater world and everything, I'll give it 4 stars.
4 stars. All right. Well, overall, like both of us have already said, this movie it's really, really fun. It's crazy. It's over the top. It's cheesy. It hams everything up. Story, it's a fun time. There are some superhero tropes that you just got to get over and some bogged down story elements. But, for the most part, it's a really fun experience. And I can definitely see myself watching this movie again. It's decently acted. I really enjoy Jason Momoa in this movie. I enjoy Amber Heard. It's funny to see Willem Dafoe with a man bun. Patrick Wilson, though I can't take him serious, is not terrible in this movie. Everyone does a pretty good job. And I think this film was well executed on James Wan's part. CGI is pretty good. It's a pretty world to look at and a really, really neat underwater experience. I'll give the entire story. I'll give this movie. I'll give it right F. I'll give it 3.5 stars.
All right, yeah, I'll say about the same thing. This it is long, but it's fast paced and it's fun throughout. It's a really fun ride. Acting is it's hammy, but they do pretty much what they need to do. I think for the most part the movie is very pretty to look at. It's the CGI, especially for Atlantis, looks really good in the world design and everything. It's ridiculous. You can't take the plot points too seriously. There's nothing too serious going on in this movie. But I enjoyed it. I'll just say I was surprised how much I enjoyed it.
I was thoroughly surprised how much I enjoyed it.
I thought I was going to I did not think I was going to like this movie.
I honestly thought this movie was going to be garbage.
And so for me to come out saying, okay, that was a fun time, and not to really I didn't really feel that 2.5 hours. It didn't really hurt. I wasn't so bored with the movie by the time it was over. I was just ready to get up and go. So I'll give it 3.5 stars on entertainment value alone.
Yeah, it's a fun time. So based on this, where are you going to put it in your DCEU ranking?
I'll put it a solid number 1.
I got it number 1 too.
I enjoyed it much more than I enjoyed Wonder Woman.
It's a way more entertaining and enjoyable movie. I think that Wonder Woman, you could argue, is a little bit better made film. It's not near as entertaining or fun to sit and watch, especially, and I think this movie has more rewatchability value than Wonder Woman. I don't see myself watching Wonder Woman, on a super consistent basis. I honestly think that when this movie comes out on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever, I'm sure one of us will end up buying it, and we'll definitely have to sit down and watch it, and we'll have a fun time with it. So,
yeah, like I said, I enjoyed this much more than I did Wonder Woman. That Wonder Woman movie, I was really bored during the second act of that Wonder Woman movie. I was never bored for a long period of time during this movie, so I think it's a solid number 1. And speaking of number 1, or not really, that's a bad transition. What we got coming up?
Speaking of number 1. Well, this will be our last review of the 2018 year. We started this podcast back at mid-October, and we're sitting at 2.5 months later, and we just finished recording episode 30. So
31, if you include this one.
Is this 31?
Yeah.
I thought this was 30.
31.
Wow, 31. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Sitting at 31 episodes.
You missed our 30th anniversary.
I'm sorry. Sitting at 31 episodes, and I think what we've accomplished in a 2.5 month period is not bad. We're sitting at close to 800 listens on our episodes. Creed has well over, it's sitting at 135, close to 140. listens on all those platforms. And I think it's great what we've done in 2 months, and I can't wait to see what we're going to do in the new year. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm always looking for ways to improve. Always
Absolutely.
taking suggestions.
If you got any suggestions or comments,
Yeah. Who knows, by the end of this next year, we may be a radically different podcast.
we could be.
I've been trying to think of ways to improve our content. So, all that being said, what are we doing on social media?
We are up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at DNA Film Wars, all lowercase, no space on all those platforms. So give us a like or a follow.
If you have any specific comments and or questions, we are up on you can contact us at dnafilmwars@gmail.com. We are up on all major podcatching services. You can leave us a review.
We're also up on YouTube with our audio files. Keep a lookout for videos in the new year.
Yep. So
I think that about covers it.
as always, I'm Aaron.
I'm Dylan, and we'll see you in our year-end episode.
Welcome home.
My brother has come from the surface to challenge me for the throne.
I call it an ass whooping. I'm no leader. I came because I have no choice. I came to save my home and the people that I love.
You think you're unworthy to lead because you're of two different worlds. But that is exactly why you are worthy.